The Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast. Real Doctor Who fans with real Doctor Who opinions.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast, your go-to for all things Doctor Who, from classic era to big finish and beyond. I am your host, Brett, ready to dive into today's fascinating topic. In today's episode 356 of the podcast, I'm going to be looking into basically the most recent Big Finish news, as since the last podcast, there has been so many things to talk about. I am very intrigued by... I'd love if anybody has listened to Vamp PD to reach out to the podcast, email the show at alhambraaudio@gmail.com, tweet the show at Alhambra Podcast, DMs are open. Love to hear your thoughts regarding that, because I have not been able to find anything on the timescales whatsoever. And so far, they don't have any, fan-centric gooiness, for lack of a better word. And so far, that is even the worst, probably, idea to explain the entirety of that. Anyway, today's episode, like I said, is going to be centric on all the Big Finish news and some thoughts that I have. And again, getting ready for the month of this December, as we are closing in on 1 year. And it has been a fun year. I will tell you, it's been a busy year, and it has been a year filled with, sadly for me, I guess a minimal amount of Big Finish audio listening. However, I do have thoughts and look forward to picking stuff up and listening to it, obviously, in the future when time permits, as always. So again, if you'd like to, we would love to hear from you. Please email the show at alhambraaudio@gmail.com. You can tweet the show at Alhambra Podcast. DMs are open. And now, without further ado, let's get into the Big Finish news. First off, I think oh man, I'm so excited about this news. It came out the 5th of November, 2024. And every single time Big Finish closes not a range. There we go. I was going to say a title. That's not the correct word. A range. It's always a couple of years later, or sometimes months later, that the range opens back up again. Now, they've already done this once with the previous range, or this range, and then they closed it up again because, again, we had full cast audios. What do we need to do with the Companion Chronicles? Now, the 5th of November brings us the news of the new Companion Chronicles for the First Doctor era. Now, this is kind of exciting. It's entitled Families. The voice actors are Stephen Noonan, who will play the First Doctor, and probably various other voices. Lauren Cornelius, who will play Dodo. We have Carol Ann Ford, who obviously will play Susan. Maureen O'Brien, who will play Vicky. And Peter Purvis, as it'd be kind of curious if we get him back not only as Stephen, but as the Doctor as well, too. So stay tuned for that. We have 4 stories in this Companion Chronicle box set entitled, again, Families. We have The Temple of Light by Jonathan Morris. This is a First Doctor and Vicky story, which is going to be quite interesting. The synopsis is: the time has stopped, the TARDIS has frozen, and yet Vicky finds herself in an entirely unfamiliar civilization, while the Doctor, Ian, and Barbara are nowhere to be seen. So again, pulled out of the TARDIS. So again, takes place during the time. We have Maureen O'Brien doing that, and probably some other voices. We might get Stephen Noonan, using his voice work as well, too. We have Stardust and Ashes by Ian Potter, and this is reflecting on all that she's lost. Susan recalls a long time ago when she and her traveling family were trapped, their lives at the mercy of a machine intelligence, but everyone can learn from circumstances and from those around them, even in the ashes of hope. And sometimes we can sometimes see stardust. So that's going to be quite interesting to see. Then the third story is The White Ship by Paul Morris. Have not seen that name right for a while. The Doctor and Stephen land in Normandy. So this is going to take place before, obviously, or in between, what would that be? the massacre, and yeah, my brain is yeah, because no, wait, massacre? Yeah, massacre. Anyway, sorry, brain currently malfunctioning. So the Doctor and Stephen land in Normandy, where Henry the First is preparing to set sail for England. Stephen gets mistaken for Steve. I like that. So previously in the massacre, we had the Doctor, whose doppelganger was somebody who currently is my brain's not working and reminding myself, but again, currently mistaken. The William Hartnell playing almost kind of two parts at certain times, and the cousin of Henry is heir, blah blah blah. So it's going to be quite interesting. I find that odd. I do. I'm not criticizing. I just find that odd that the Doctor would have that story with basically Stephen as just basically the two of them, and then a little while later, Stephen has the exact situation thrown in his face. Interesting. Interesting. Then the last story is the Y Factor, and this is this is written by Christopher Cooper, who I did some research in, and I found it funny, because I was actually legitimately going to go. I've never heard of this person before. I don't know if they've ever written anything before, and I did some research into this before I click play or record. Man, my brain is all over the place, and I was looking through something. So the first thing it looks like he wrote was a story in Bernice Summerfield Road Trips. There's three stories, yeah, in it, and I found it odd because according to this, it showed that I own this, and I unless there's been some hiccup with the whole Big Finish, snafu between going from one website to another. I don't remember ever buying this, but then I looked at it on my records, and yeah, I picked this up for like $2.99 about like 5 years ago. So yeah, I you know what, you set something for the price of $2.99, and I think I'll probably practically pick it up. He did one of the stories in, the main range release, You Are the Doctor and Other, Stories. To me, the best one would be what is it? I think it's the first one, which is the, um oh, is that the first one where it is the, Choose Your Own Adventure one? I think so. He did a couple of Blake Seven stuff. He also wrote the, Blake Seven Uprising book. That has done some Torchwood stuff, and then most recently did a story in the 11th Doctor Chronicles Volume 2. So, yes, this Christopher Cooper has done certain things. I just didn't know they existed. So it's going to be quite interesting to see. I love the Companion Chronicles. I'm curious, though, how if this is just a one and done. I am grateful to get Stephen back. I'm grateful to get or Peter Purvis back. I'm grateful to get Caroline Ford back too, because again, we have oh, and sorry, I should also say Maureen O'Brien, because again, we currently have an actor who is Stephen Noonan, who's playing the first Doctor. We also have an actress who's playing Dodo. So it's always great to get as many of these audios with the current living actors who originally played them in the series as much and as long as we possibly can. So I'm very excited for that when that gets released, due out in the April 2025. So that's something to look forward to. Yeah, Vamp PD. I I searched, and maybe I'm looking it up wrong, but currently on the timescales, I've not been able to find, and maybe they've updated it since, because I don't think I hit refresh on the tab, but I have not been able to find Vamp PD, and I even spelled it differently. So I have Vamp, I have Vam PD, and it just wasn't coming up. So I'm kind of curious if wait, do we got it? Do we got it? Let's see. Nope. so vamp doesn't work. So VAMPD, I'll just search that. That comes up with nothing. And I'm just going to go VAM space PD. There we are, volume 1. All right. So, it's there on it took some searching, but it is there and nobody's reviewed it. I mean, maybe it's because it's hard to find and also I'm not sure if it's something that was really, really wanted or excited. I will tell you, maybe I'll get to that a little bit later. I do have a minimal review and, yeah, not too thrilled about that at all. So, yeah, with that, let me go back to the news. So the news, we finally got the Paul Sprague's Memorial Short Trip Competition winner. I was going to say Alan Cox, but that's a performer. So it is a 12th Doctor with Bill story. And let's see, who was it? So Patrick Ross is the winner of this, and it says Paul was the champion of the new writing talent to honor his memory. So for Paul Sprague's, um, Paul. Oh, Paul was a champion. There we go. I read that but didn't read that and understand it. So the judges chose War Stories, an adventure featuring the 12th Doctor and Bill, written by Patrick Ross. Says the Intergalactic Fringe Festival spans a whole planet. Its program offers millions of shows, so the Doctor and Bill can choose anything from anti-grav acrobats to the quantum cabernet. All right, so it sounds like somebody's been watching a lot of Rick and Morty and transdimensional TV. Gotcha. It says, but the Doctor is alarmed when he attends a play about the Time War. It's not just that it tells his personal history, its performance could unravel the universe. Well, fingers crossed that it does, and it prevents us from experiencing the 13th Doctor as seen on TV, and then we can just like modify that to fan fiction, even though that probably hurt some people's feelings. Whatever. It's my opinion, and I can have an opinion. It is okay. The other thing I want to bring up regarding the news on the 11th of November, we finally got information on the Call Me Master box set #1 featuring Sasha Dwan as I would say very unhinged master from the 13th Doctor era. We have 3 stories there. We have Self Help by Robert Valentine, excellent writer. The Clockwork Swan by Georgia Cook, and The Good Life by Una McCormick. So the box set basically has a summary of the Master of Disguise, Disarray, and Disorder. The Master has always enjoyed creating chaos, but this carnation reveals it in more than most. A new Master is unleashed upon the universe, and he is taking his time and pleasure in finding out exactly who he is. Okay, so it sounds like this is like going to be the Sasha Dwan Master origin story. So, probably, I, we might get a whole um, beginning of regenerations or whatnot. Valentine says where Sasha's master fits into the timeline is a deliberate mystery. So, exactly, because it was too hard for Chris Chibnall to actually write that. So I thought it would be fun in the context of starting a fresh series with him as our anti-hero. You know, I wouldn't mind anti-hero, but I hope it's better than what the War Master box set is. Everybody else around him dies. Again, I'm still probably going to hard pass the Call Me Master series until, maybe about 3 or ish years away. And you know what? In all honesty, I could be passing up pure gold and fantastical enjoyment that will be had by all. But again, that is I think we're too close to the the Flux series, murdering everybody on Gallifrey, which still makes absolutely no sense if you ask me, but whatever. That is just my opinion. Previously, I discussed the Seventh Doctor Ghost Hunting, which has Karnaki, which, oh, I was so bummed that that did not come out during the month of October. I needed that story with Karnaki the Ghost Hunter to come out during the month of October so that I could just have a fun horror story to listen to. Now, with that, I did pick up, and those of you that listen to the podcast a lot know my stance on Torchwood. I did pick up the most recent Torchwood announcement, or not a release, not announcement. My brain is all over the place today. I apologize for that. But I picked up the uh, most recent release from Torchwood. The and oh, I just listened to it. I listened to it in the month of December. I was looking forward to a fantastic horror story because I saw that, this is okay, Widdershins. And I listened to the special features at the very end. I will tell you, Guy Adams, pretty good writing, pretty good writer. I did not like that whatsoever. It was supposed to be, according to, some of the things I was reading, this is a great Halloween October story. And I felt as though it started oddly, and then it continued oddly, and then it just ended. And yeah, that's where I stick with Torchwood Widdershins or whatever. Some might find it very interesting. Oh, I wonder what the timescales is going to say about that. Ooh, let's check that. That sounds fun. Torchwood, not Churchwood. Torchwood. Let's see. What would a Torchwood story say? Let's see. Widdershins. All right. Release 88. Currently on the timescales, nobody has listened to it and reviewed it. Interesting. And then the previous release from Torchwood 87, which is the Hollow Choir, only has 2 reviews on the entirety of the situation. So, yeah, that is not a good sign right there. I But you know what? I do appreciate, the time scales, and I'm just kinda curious if people are just slowly, like, dying out of Torchwood. And one more before I conclude this podcast is we get, as a date of recording, we do have a special sale on the Classic Doctor's New Monsters. And I will tell you, Volume 5, which is going to be released in January 2025, I think I'm going to, sit this one out massively until it gets price reduced to currently what the, volumes 1 and 2 are going for, which is in America, 21.25, because um, I'm interesting in, what is it? The Krillatine from the Sarah Jane, not the Sarah Jane Adventures, from School Reunion. I'm kind of interested in that, but I'm also, but then you have the monks from the 12th Doctor and Bill's 10th season, which maybe I owe it, maybe I owe that series a re-listen, but not a huge fan. And then you have the dog people. You have the dog people from everybody's favorite 6-part series, which was going to answer every single question until it didn't. You have the dog people from the Flux series, the Lupari. And yeah, I just Big Finish. Here is just, you can do what you want to do, but I would recommend that you just focus on seasons 1 through 10 and then lightly select certain things. I would even do a repeat. Do a repeat of some of the previously done ones. You don't have to just constantly go back to the drawing board and start with a brand new one. Like, why don't you just kind of keep on going with some of these other adventures. But you know what? It is perfectly fine. I will just say I'm not going to pick it up until it is massively reduced in price, because currently I'm not spending 31 something on Faithful Friends. I will maybe pick it up for $2.99. That that fantastic price that I picked up that Bernie Summerfield. Yes, please, I will grab that. So yeah, and I did want to go somewhere else, but you know what? I'm just going to end the podcast right now. Again, please email the show, like, subscribe, download, ring the bell for notifications if you're listening to this on YouTube. And until next time, I will see you in time.
You have been listening to the Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast. Doctor Who is owned and trademarked by the BBC. Doctor Who Alhambra is not affiliated with the BBC or Big Finish. No infringement is intended. Visit our website at alhambrapodcast.weebly.com or email the show at alhambraaudio@gmail.com. Tweet us at Alhambra Podcast. That is ALHAMBRA Podcast. Thank you.